Good afternoon, it's Michael here from Michael's Card Art, and I've got another video for you. It's been a little while since we chatted, however, life gets in the way, as they say. But what I've got today for you is a piece of work that I've done on 3 cards. I'll show you what they are, and this is the first one, Sunflowers in Tuscany, if you like. Now, why is it that when one turns on a camera, one decides the need to cough? So that's the first card I did, it was Sunflowers in Tuscany. This is another one with the same fold. This one here is, I don't know, Spring Blossoms in the Orient, I suppose you could call that one. And the other one is Stippled Roses. Now, all of them have the very same format and fold on them. But what I'm going to do is I've been asked by a number of people if I can show all 3 flowers how to do. And for me, that would be a stretch too far. But what I have decided to do is I'll show you how I've made the base card. And then what I'll do is I'll make 3 separate videos on the actual decoration of the cards. So if you like, there'll be sunflowers part 1, part 2, if you like, and then it'll be roses, stippled roses, and also spring blossoms. So there'll be 4 videos in total that show you the concept of how I made these cards. So what I'm going to do is I'll start with the sunflowers one, and for those who have not seen this on any of my Facebook sites, or Instagram at Michael's Card Art, you will see that it basically sits flat like this. There's a piece missing from this bottom section that provides a little bit of an opportunity for you to put your greeting and sentiment, things like that. And it opens up like this. So it looks like there's a piece missing, but then it has this unusual fold mechanism that sits there. And this provides opportunity for more illustration, your sentiment, and the actual visual that you see here. And most of the inquiry came around how did I get this piece presented like that. So I'm going to walk you through that, and I'll walk you through the dimensions of the card itself. And there'll be a couple of things in there about how to best present this image and how I go about doing it so that I do it once and once only. So let's get started on the sunflowers. And if you've got any questions, please drop me a line and I'll get back to you on that. Now, the measurements for the card are thus. Let me just get that for you. So I've used this plain white cardstock here. In the other ones, you will have seen that for the stippled roses, for example, I've used soft suede and petal pink as one of the mats, gold, I don't know, gold foil, I suppose, for the second mat, and I've used a piece of DSP for the top piece of the card. And I've overstamped on that DSP from the actual stippled roses. But anyway, as we go forward, I'll show you that. So the measurements of the card are this. No, I did have that measured out for you. And then what I've done is, so it is 22 centimeters, scored at 11.5 by 15 centimeters. So 22 centimeters by 15 centimeters, scored at 11.5 to give you that. And then what I've done is I've measured up 4 centimeters and I've cut that piece out. So 4 centimeter measure up the score line and then remove that piece there. So you've got, in effect, what looks like that. So then when we get to the inside, and we're going to focus on the inside today, the measurements for that are as such. Well, wait there, what did I say? I said 22, I said scored at 11.5. It's not scored at 11.5, it's scored at 11 centimeters, not 11.5. So my bad. So what I'm going to do here with this card is I'm going to still have 2 mats. Now each of these mats So for example, this one, the soft suede that I'm using here, is around 10.5 centimeters by 14.5 centimeters. And these other mats, what you're going to do is you're going to just remove 5 millimeters from the top and side. So the gold leaf, the next one comes in at 10 centimeters. The first one was 10.5. The second mat is 10 centimeters by just under 14 centimeters. And then we've got our top card that sits at 9.5 by 13.5 centimeters. Okay, so you get this particular look. And I can see my trimmer blade needs a little bit of work, but we'll work around that and I'll show you how to disguise that there. So this is the look that you're going to have there. And I'll replicate that 2 matte look across all the front pieces so that you've got, as shown in this example here, base card, you've got 2 mats, and then you've got your top card. All right. Now, I hope that's clear. Now, let's start working on this. Put those mats aside and the base card, and now let's work on this. Now, this is just a scrap piece of paper that I've got here, and using the Hills of Tuscany stamp set, and you could use any stamp set that you like here. There is no die set to come with Hills of Tuscany. It's just a simple plain watercolor stamp set. And a lot of people get daunted by these because what they try to do, from my experience, is they try to stamp directly onto the card mat itself. And they get anxious, and then they realize they've made a mistake, and then they have to start again. So what I do is I get a piece of A4 sheet of paper and I practice what the scene will look like in advance on the sheet of paper. So what you can see here, I've got the clouds, I've got the sun, the same color as the sunflowers will be. Clouds are broken up a bit. We've got hills, undulating hills, and these cross over with this stamp set very nicely. So really all it is a matter of stamping one, stamping another to get these ridges, and that's complemented by another stamp, which is the same concept, but it's smaller, so you can create these interlocking ridges of mountains, if you like. And that gives you a very authentic look. And then what I've done there is I've just added some, what do you call them? Some poplars or some pines, which is very endemic of the Tuscan region. And I've got the villa itself. Now that is in 2 parts. There's the roof and there is the building and the roof. Okay, so that's stamped there. And I've also, as part of my practice, I've got, there's a little, here it is here. There's this little stamp that allows you to stamp in the sunflowers themselves. So you might find that the stamp is bigger than the ridge. When you stamp it into the ink, just wipe off to the amount that you need on there so that you don't have it all crossing over onto the same ridges of the mountain. Now, so that's the look that I went with on a sheet of paper. And then I just transferred that over on to the actual cardstock. And actually, I think I like the result of the sheet of paper better than I do on this one. My house is a little bit crooked there. However, that aside, don't stress about it, because like any crafter, you know how to hide some of the blemishes and things like that. And I probably would recommend, I'm going to just do this now, I should have done it before. I'm just going to go and increase the intensity of color on my poplars. So I'm just going with an early espresso, which is a darker tone to the, there you go, it's a slightly darker tone to the soft suede that I stamped originally with. Let me just go and do these ones here. And without getting my head in the road, there we go. Okay, so they're a little bit darker. There. Oops, sorry about that noise. I've just bumped something over. Right. Now, but that's not all there is that I added to that. I'm going to just add a couple of more elements to the cardstock because, let's just turn that over now so not to confuse. And these extra elements, I wanted to create originally a little bit more of a worn look about it before I stamped on the sunflowers. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to use these sets to furnish the rest of the card here. I've got Celebrate the Sun, which is the sunflowers. I'm using Very Versailles for the text, and I'm also using Quiet Meadow for the text and some of the dots. So, but rather than use a color for those, I'm going to use embossing powder, and I'll use gold embossing powder, and for all of those elements. Now, the first ones that I'm going to print on, though, are going to be the script and also this script. Here we go here. And just go back into reference. Oh, right. And then what I'll do is I'll use this from the Hills of Tuscanny stamp set to create the rows of sunflowers. So first of all, what I'll do, I better put in the green and the gold of my sunflowers. So let's just do that. I'll show you how that was done. So what I'm trying to do is create rows of sunflowers going down the hill. And I might put another row here. They'll come down this way. So let's just get in the green first. And what I'm using is the shaded spruce as the green. Now you could use any green really. And I'm just looking for my cloth. Here it is. Okay. Just to wipe the ink off. Okay, now just a quick measure to make sure I've got the right amount of, yes, there you go. That might be a little intense, that green, but that's okay. Okay, and there goes, there we go. See, we don't really want it to go all that way down. I should have just stamped a small amount, and there it is, like so. Okay, and now as we come back, we'll just a small ridge there, a small ridge here, a small ridge here, and just a small ridge there. Okay, so that looks like a continuous row of daffodils. I will add now some, let me just have a look here. I'll make it Mango Melody as the color to represent the sunflowers. So I'll just start here. Now they can just be set just to the left or the right of that. So it looks like you've got just a little bit there. And you can see the sunflowers poking through. A small amount here on this angle. Small amount there. And like so. Okay, so it looks like you've got sunflowers growing there in the distance, barring that small little mistake I made there. But, as I said, all of that is going to be hidden away in the midst of time. Right. Just move that away. So I've got some space. Doesn't matter how big your craft room is, you never have enough space, I find. Okay, now the script. I wanted the script in there because originally I found a piece of DSP that I wanted to use, and that DSP had some writing on it. So the paper, the DSP that I'm using at the front here is an old piece that I've always wanted to use, and what I did, you might be able to see it's got some scripting in the background. Well, I wanted to replicate that because I only had one small piece. I wanted to replicate it in here. So you can see here we've got some stamped text, which I've added, and I've got gold embossing text to sort of supplement that as well. And here's our rows of sunflowers, green and gold, and then I've gold embossed over the top of that to make it, or just to enhance the look of it. So let's go and do those items now. So make sure I've got the script in the right direction. This is probably not the original script that I used, so I'm going to show you one other piece of script that I've learned to use in a slightly different manner. So this is from Very Versailles. This is the script here. You can see it's well worn, well loved. And what to do with that? So this text actually, I won't use this one. I'm going to use the Very Versailles. Now this is not embossed, it's just stamped in colour, and I'm just choosing the colour. I think possibly I might use a crumb cake, which is a lighter tone to the soft suede. Now, rather than stamp the whole thing with a stamp block, I only want elements of it. So what I do on those occasions is this. I'll just use my fingers and I'll stamp accordingly. And very gently, you're starting to see text appear. Okay, not a lot, but you're starting to see some text in the background. Okay, which gives it that kind of worn look that I am after. Okay, there we go. That's enough. Now, let me put that away. And let's bring out this one. So this is the one I'm going to emboss. Now, once again, I don't know if anyone else is having this issue, but a lot of my stamps that are well used, I find it doesn't always stick successfully to the block. And the number of times that I've had stamps drop onto the cardstock as I'm lowering them on because they're not adhesive enough. Now I'm just going to give this, with my embossing buddy, a dusting just to make sure that it's free of grease and that the embossing powder doesn't stick to everything. Okay, so just go, not liberally, but just go sparingly. And I've got around about, I suppose, 3 areas that I want this text to appear in. Now, what I recommend is that you do the embossing at each stage so that you can clearly see how much embossing is still needed and where it's needed. So let's get this into the embossing powder. So just giving it a bit of a sprinkle down. Trying not to do that. Okay, so there's embossing powder text here. There's some here, and I believe I had one down the bottom somewhere. So let's have a look at that. Or maybe not. Oh, there it is. Okay. And it's, yes, so it's there, there, and here. I'm just going to turn this on and heat emboss that. Let's get rid of that first and collect that little bit of spillage. Okay, here we go. So let's do this. Excuse the noise. So you can start to see the gold embossing is coming through. It's very mild. There we go. And just a little bit down here. So it can get quite hot, so be careful not to burn yourself with the heat gun. And it needs to be very hot for it to melt the embossing powder. I have heard people say, why isn't it melting? I'm using my hairdryer, but a hairdryer is not going to cut it. It's not going to get hot enough. And you certainly wouldn't try drying your hair with a heat gun. Okay, that's that. I won't make you sit through that again. When I do embossing, I'll pause the video. Now what we need to do is I want to put in the crops of sunflower. So that's those ones going there. Now I'll just, same thing applies. You don't want to overdo it. You just want to have enough embossing powder for the size of your rose, as we discussed before. And there. And then we're coming back. Now you probably won't see these other ones because you've got text on some of those. So let's get this embossed. And a little bit here. Okay, now be careful that you don't go and add the new embossing powder too soon after the last lot, because you could be adding embossing powder and it may set straight away on the hot card. Anyway, just a tip. I'm just going to pause this and I'll be straight back. Okay, so I've embossed that now, and you can see the rows of sunflowers there. Okay, now the star of the show is our Celebrate Sunflowers stamp set. And what I'll show you is, I mean, this is a fantastic one. I thought when I got it, I thought, oh, it's a bit big, but it's a bit beautiful too. And you can see it has gorgeous, gorgeous definition of its stamp. So let me now show you, to finish this inside card off, what I did was this. I'll just, here it is. I'm just going to dust that again. And I want to make sure you'll see here the, it's this part here that I want. I really like this folding of the leaves here. So I'm going to use that. I'm not going to stamp it all. I'm going to just in the corner, and it will, you'll see what I mean when we actually emboss it, just how beautiful it is. All right, now let's make sure I've got all of that. Okay, that should go there. All right, there's that one. And then what I did was I took the liberty of taking this one and stamping that just over here. What I might do, no, the sentiment will hide most of that. No, let's get it, let's take it over here. Okay, and no, I'm going to put it there without giving it another moment's thought, and that will hide that slight ridging of the villa. Okay, so let's put the embossing powder into this. There we go. Look at that. It's beautiful, stunning. It's a really nice stamp set. And just, I think it was about here. Oh, and I like the way it's just, it breaks away there nicely. I'm going to take the liberty of one more little stamp of this, and I'm going to do it here, like that. There we go. You can't have too much sunflower colour on your card. There we go. Okay. Now what's there? Now this could be, I mean, there's a lot of, I'm just going to get rid of some of that excess colour and embossing powder there. It just seems a little, I don't know why that is, and it could be there. Just going to get rid of some of that extra. Okay, I think what I've tried to do is just add a bit too much there on that side. Oh, and that's the colour of the cloud in there. That's what I'm fighting with. Okay, so that's that. I'm just going to make some space here, pick up the remnants of waste, and save as much of that as I can. All right, let's put that away. I'll just do the final emboss on this and I'll come straight back to you. Okay, I think that's, oh no, there's a small amount here, sorry. A small amount just not melted there. There we go. Okay. Now, the next part we're going to do is I'll show you how I coloured this so that you've got an idea in that space there. Just put that away. Okay. Now, that one belongs in here. All right, that's all done. Now, the colours I used were Daffodil Delight, and I used, and why is it not there? Right, I just need to find my pencil from the Crushed Curry Stampin' Up pencil, and there it is right there. Okay, and that was for the highlights for the daffodils, and I'll show you how that is applied. I'm just putting something back. Sorry, you take something out and lo and behold you can't get it back in. There we go. All right. Okay, so Daffodil Delight. So what I'll do is with the Daffodil Delight, now can you see that I'm going to increase the size of this a little bit so that you can see. Now I'll use this the dark Daffodil Delight to do the highlights on the, and those highlights are sort of shown in this area here with the darker lines just coming down through there like that. So just using it to highlight those areas that are indicated by the actual stamp set itself, those areas that are the darkest. Okay. It's a very, very simple procedure. So let's just work on this one first. I think that's most of them there. Now, I was always scared of these blends when I first joined Stampin' Up 18 months ago, but I had to have them, but I didn't know how to use them properly. And you will find that there are many, many good colorists out there. If you are interested in learning how to use blends, there is a Facebook site called Blends and Beyond, which I'm also in. And I have learnt so much about using, I'm just going to get rid of that paper there, using colour and how to apply colour in lots of situations. And my colouring skills, I think, have improved enormously. Now, so you can see here the dark colour has set and the light colour being applied is not disturbing that darker colour at all. And you're getting this gorgeous, rich colouring coming through. You can see that there, I think, yes. Okay, now if I go back, that circle there, I'm going to leave that as a dark space, and what I'll use there is possibly nothing more than, is that early espresso? Yes, it is. I'm just going to colour this in very, very gently here using a pencil, a watercolour pencil, but I'm not going to watercolour it. I'm just going to give that a bit of a coloration there. And just gently in there, just gently, not a lot. If you look at the centre of a sunflower, it is quite dark. But for the purpose of our exercise, I'm just going to keep it quite light at this stage. Okay, I think that will do. Now I've got a flower here that has no colour on it whatsoever. A petal, sorry. Okay. Now, one of the things that I have learned over time is pencils can be used very well to enhance and add also definition and prominence. And you can see that here. What I'm doing is, whilst I have marked this off with the Daffodil Delight dark and the petals themselves are light, I'm bringing in pencil just to add a little more shade. And I found by bringing pencil into my colouring, it does make a difference, especially in very big complex pieces. Okay, and there we are there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that same technique for these two flowers, and I'll come back to you on that one. All right, so just bear with me and I'll finish that off. Okay, now I'm back, and that has all been coloured, and you can see the gold embossing and the flowers that are around and the finished look of the card. What I am going to do though is I'm just going to grab some crumb cake, and it's a very light brown, and I'm just going to give that a dusting across the whole card, because I just wanted to have a slightly less white look, if you like. There we go, and that's sufficient, and that will give it that bit of an aged look, if you like. So it's taken that white glow off it. Excellent. All right, so that's that. Now let's pick up the rest of the card and show you where we're at. So I'm just going to adhere these pieces accordingly. So let me just show off my gluing skills, and trust me, I still need to do some work on these, because I find sometimes I've either got too much or not enough glue, and then when I get it on, I can't move it in the right position. Okay, so that looks Maybe I can show off. Right, so we've got that. Here's the next piece of matte. Perfect. Oops. Let's get that on. Now, just very, very gently. Now, I did say my cutting blade needed to be sharpened, or replaced, I should say. I don't know, I seem to be going through these at a great pace these days, much faster than I used to when I first started buying the things. Maybe that's because... oh, I don't know why it is. I was being pessimistic in what I was going to say, so I won't say it. Okay, so now that will sit on here like this. And right, so let's park that for a moment. Now, if we go back to the original card, we had a similar thing here. I sold you the 4 centimeter cutout, and it locks into place like that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how I colored these leaves, because I've got some leaves to put here. But just to remind you, the front part of this card was a piece of DSP that I kind of mirrored this piece to. And so what I've done is I've done a mini version of that in here. You've got the daffodils, you can see the poplars are in there, you can see the gold defined text a bit more there. So the front piece is a mirror of this piece. So you can go ahead and do that. But the part that I'm going to show you now is this fold here. How do we get that? All right, so putting that aside, this is how it's done. You need to score this piece here from this corner to that corner. I've done it so many times from that corner to that corner, and it doesn't work, trust me. So I'm going to, and hopefully I've scored that in the right position. I'm just thinking it might be a little out, and if it is, it can create a few problems, as you're going to see here. Okay, so we need to make that a square fold. And by that, I mean it needs to be exact. That's better. So use a bit of brute force to get that fold in. Now, you'll see that there's a slight millimeter or 2 that's not cooperating. So that there is now going to be the piece that folds and locks in there, if that makes sense. See, like that? But then what we do is we put this over the top and we glue it in place, and that gives you that look. So that's what you sits behind. Now, I'm not going to glue that down just yet, because it's a cardinal sin to glue something and then to work on it in my world. So I'm asking for trouble. So, but basically what you would do then is you would just apply glue to the bottom section like that, like that will attach there, and the top part is left unglued so that you get this fold thing happening. All right, so that's that. But I want to come back to this piece now and just color 2 leaves for you. So I've got the die cut out, I've got the leaves. Now I should add this sunflower. This sunflower is not part of the Stampin' Up! Sunflower set. It's not one of the dies from that set. It's a separate sunflower altogether, purchased from places unknown, but I thought that was important to call that out. Okay, so how do I colour the leaves? Now, a lot of people commented saying the colouring is fantastic. It's so natural. That's what I strive for anyway, something that is natural when the need arises. So I'll show you how I've done the leaves, and on my site you'll see that there's a number of videos I've done there where it shows how I colour flowers and colour leaves. But in this case, I'm just going to show you these leaves. Now, using 2 colours, once again, it's a yellow and Daffodil Delight, and I've got Old Olive. Actually, it's not 2 colours, it's 3 colours. Old Olive, Mossy Meadow and Daffodil Delight. Now, I start with the Daffodil Delight because as you can see here, the leaves have got that yellow tinge in them. Now, so let's do that first. I'm getting the first leaf up. Now, you might be appalled at how I treat cutouts, but it's pretty rough. I endeavour to get as much yellow in there as possible and give that a good coat, as you can see there. Some people might prefer to put it down here. That's of choice. Now, I'm just going to, this is the old olive. Now, with that, what I do here, I hold it in my hand and then I go around the edges, like so. I will always leave a little piece lightly coloured in the yellow, like so. Okay, I'll go over that with some green, but not enough to hide it. Okay, now the third colour, the Mossy Meadow, just gives you that richness of leaf. So let's just grab another dauber, and here it is. Okay, now this, once again, same approach, go to the edges, apply it, give it a good, there you go, a good shading of green. That's it. Now remember, when the sunflowers are at the peak of their colour, or at the peak of, at the point of being harvested, I should say, the leaves on the sunflower plant will start to turn a slight yellowy colour. They'll lose some of their, what do they call that, chloroform, and you start to get some yellowing, and that's what I've strived for there. I think we've got it. So let's do another one while I'm here. I'll use 2 leaves. So once again, rich coating of Daffodil Delight all over the card. That's yep, all over the cardboard. And you've got there, really push it in there at the top. Then we come in with our, let's see if I can just do this on the table here so you can see as the colour changes. There we go. Leaving that yellow area there with a bit of green, but in a different spot now. Was that the green or was that yellow? Okay, and now we go with the darker green and finish it off. And you know, just cut a piece of cardboard out and practice. That's what I did when I first started colouring. I just didn't like everything to be the one colour. But there's a time and a place for such things. There we go, and look at that. It's just, it's good. There's your leaf tone, and that will suffice. Okay, let's put that away. And let's get this away. Okay, and that's done. All right. And let's bring the card base back. How is this going to sit into place, and where am I going to place these leaves? Well, let's have a look at that. So I can now place this into the card, and we will assume that this is going to sit around there. So when you open it up and it sits up, let's say it's about there. So with these leaves, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them some shape now. Okay, just gently with your bone folder. so that they don't have to sit flat. But you don't really want them sitting flat so much because they need to act as a stop to hold that. And so let's say we have them like this. Yeah. And what we can do then is add some dimensionals. So what I'm going to, first of all, what I'll do is I'll glue those together. Yep. Okay. Actually, that one sits there like that. That can be a better stop. Yeah. I'm going to glue this one to this. There we go. That can go there to that. Just like that. And I will put a, let's move that so you can see it. I'm going to put a couple of dimensionals here on this one, there. And a second one will go there too. Okay. Right. And back into position. Let's see what's happened here. See this little bit of glue seeping out on the seam? Just remove that with a cotton bud. All right, now, where did it go? Sitting up there. So I'm going to put it about here. That's it. And tempting fate, I'm just going to glue smallest drop of glue, there it is, there, and that will hold that. There we go. So there's our leaves. Okay. Give that a moment to dry. And there you have it there, sitting like that. Great. All right, and as I said, that will go there. You will have created a second scene, similar to this if you like, or different again. The choice is yours. But that's basically how I've done the sunflower background that you see there. So, as I said, what I'll do is I will, now that you know how we did the background on that one, obviously there is, every one of these cards had their own background. But what I'm going to show you in the next video is how I colour the sunflowers. And that will finish off this card here for you, the sunflower card. And then we'll do a video on the Japanese blooms. And you can see there's a background there, very similar concept. I used butterflies in this one instead, but very similar background. But I'll show you how I coloured these. I thought when I was colouring it, I thought, oh, these might be helpful for some of my colleagues. Anyway, so there'll be a video on the Japanese blossoms, and then I'll do also a video on the stippled rose card there as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something. But most of all, I hope to see you next time on Michael's Card Art. Take care.